starting to process and register and put into words how the school system affected me and how it set me up for just complete and utter failure in adulthood. I think the fact that I'm still alive is an accomplishment. Hello friends, my name is Cassie. Welcome back to the channel. So excited to have you here for a little 2022 reflection video. If you are new here, hello, my name is Cassie. It's so good to meet you. I'm 24, I live in New York City. I make vlogs, I act, I am trying to figure out how life works in this post-grad madness. Come along for the ride. This is going up the day before New Year's Eve, so the year is almost over. I just wanted to sit down while I start doing my vision board and do a little bit of reflection on 2022. It's been a rough few years, and I think that is a collective feeling, but I really, for the first time since probably COVID started, I'm feeling a renewed sense of energy and optimism. My mental health is better than it's been in almost 3 years. And I'm just feeling really good. And I feel like 2022 was a gentle kind of gift of a year after the intensity of 2021 in my life. I made a list of some of my favorite things. This is more surface level favorite books and music that I will walk you through, and then I'm just gonna chat a little bit about mental health and all of that good stuff. I'm excited really just to have this video to look back on. So hey future Cassie, I know she's watching. Let's have a good reflection time. 2022, let's start out with the basics. First up, we have favorite books. Because I can't pick just one. I literally read 68 books this year. 68, you heard me. That is a crazy person amount of books. You can't pick just one good book out of 68. First up, I chose a favorite series, and it has to be the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I was such a fairy girl growing up, and this was just like adult version, everything fairy that I could have asked for. It had the fairies, it had the magic, it had the love, the lust, the adventure, and I read it at a time when I just needed some escapism. I tore through them, and they are long books. And I'm editing and already realizing that I forgot to mention my favorite novels of the year, so I'll just rapid fire them for you real quick. First up, Daisy Jones and the Six, Taylor Jenkins Reid, Station 11, Emily St. John Mandel, and If We Were Villains. I don't know the author, but it's probably right here. All phenomenal books. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid and Emily St. John Mandel's. I've read, I think, almost all of them for each of them. Highly recommend. Very different genres, very different books, all amazing. Next up, we have my favorite TV show that I watched this year. This was an easy pick. Favorite show of the year, hands down, was Succession. I know Succession has been out for a few years. It's an HBO show, but I didn't start watching it until this year, and oh my god, it is so good. The writing is incredible. The production value is through the roof. It is literally a piece of art. You hate and love every single character. It's a little bit of a slow burn at first. You're like, why do I care about all these business people who are terrible people? Then you fall in love. How can you not love the Roys? How can you not hate the Roys also, though? Next up, we have favorite music of the year. Again, I picked a few different things because there's a lot of music in the world. A couple albums that I found myself returning to and listening to a lot throughout the year were FKA Twigs' Capri Songs. Amazing album. Really was a heavy beginning of the year thing when I was still in my moody depressive era, and it was just the perfect thing. Walking around the city, listening to Twigs. Also some great bops that have made their way onto many a playlist. Next album, I know this came out last year, was Lord's album Solar Power. I have always been a Lord fan, but when Solar Power first came out, I honestly didn't get it. I was like, all the songs sound the same. They're all so slow and moody. I re-listened in the spring of this year and just felt so moved by the music. The lyrics, the reflection, the nostalgia, and just awareness of sentimentality and how short life is really spoke to me. A new song that snuck its way into my heavy rotation towards the end of the year is the song Not My Neighbor by Nico Walters. I randomly found it on a curated playlist on Apple Music, and I cannot explain to you, this song has crack in it. Like, I could listen to it over and over. It's just a chill, slow beat. I think it's about robbing a bank, and it's really good. Next up, we have my favorite purchase of the year. Hands down, my Kindle. Literally, this is the best thing that I own. It's how I read all my books. I check them out from the library and send them to my Kindle, so I don't buy any books. I mean, you know, I read 68 books this year. Like, I am a crazy person. Before that, I had been reading on my iPad, which is just big and it has the blue light. It's just not ideal. So the Kindle, can throw it in any bag, perfect for reading on the train in New York. Literally, you need one if you like reading. Next up, we have my favorite recipe, which was a chickpea cauliflower curry recipe that my friend Ahun introduced to me at the very end of 2021, and then I made so many times this year. I'll link the video down below that's teaching you to make it. It's vegan. You eat it with these parathas from Trader Joe's that come in the blue bag in the frozen section. So good. So many yummy spices. It's filling. Easy to reheat. My favorite new habit that I started in 2022 was wearing sunscreen. I wear sunscreen on my face every day. It wasn't always like this, but I've actually been amazing at maintaining it. I am very proud of myself. My favorite new skill is I have been learning Final Cut Pro. Editing has always been one of my favorite parts of making videos. I learned iMovie when I was a kid and just fell in love with it. I think it's so fun. Excited to keep building on that skill, but I was proud of myself for learning a new software. And then finally, my favorite thing that I released this year, I literally wrote the bonds of the education system. I think this is an ongoing process, and this is gonna lead me into talking about mental health and all that kind of stuff. I graduated college last year, 2021. I think it was the beginning of June, maybe end of May. Had already been so stressed from COVID, but then immediately upon graduation, it felt like everything got worse for like a solid year and a half. And I just barely am starting to process and register and put into words how the school system affected me and how it set me up for just complete and utter failure in adulthood. I feel like I could make an entire video about this, but essentially I was taught in the education system to get good grades and be on the honors list, be involved in lots of extracurriculars, and that's what made me successful and worthwhile, and achieving things was a very cut and dry, black and white thing, and life is not like that. Obviously, you're not getting a grade in life, but also accomplishments just are way less clear. I feel like it's an accomplishment when I muster up the energy to go down to the laundromat and do my laundry because it's annoying and I don't want to do it. I feel proud of myself when I pay my rent by myself every month. For me, it's been easy to tell myself over the last year and a half that I haven't accomplished anything, that I'm worthless, that I'm literally doing nothing. But in reality, I moved to New York City. I financially support myself. I've had 3 different jobs this year, and I have saved up enough money to take a couple months to just live and be happy. I have traveled. I think the fact that I'm still alive is an accomplishment, and it's taken me a long time to kind of feel like that is valid. I was so good at school. The system just worked really well for me and I succeeded in it, but at what cost, you know? And I've talked to a lot of people that have felt really similarly, and I honestly think that's the root of a lot of my stress and anxiety and existentialism over this last year and a half. Of course, it's probably going to be a long process, but I finally feel like I am starting to recognize that and find my self-worth in other places, and I'm just more aware of it, which I think is the first step to releasing any bad habits or mindsets. Jumping into chatting about mental health and just 2022 as a whole, my brain still separates the year in 3s because that's how it was in school. You'd have a semester and then summer and then you start school again. So that's kind of still what my brain does, even though this was my first full calendar year not having school since I was literally 2 years old, or whenever you start school. The first part of the year was carrying over from 2021. I was extremely depressed, basically hated my life and myself. Dark time in my life. I was still working my barista job. Life just felt really hard and bad. As the spring started coming along, I received a new job for the summer, so I had that to look forward to through therapy and the sun finally coming out. I don't know, seasonal depression was probably a part of it too. I started to feel a little lighter, and over the summer I was teaching kids theater camps every day, which really was such a joyful, playful introduction into my life after this year of what felt like darkness and confusion and stress. Not a lot of room for play. Hanging out with 3 to 6 year olds every day will definitely invite some play into your life. It was hard and it was hot and I got a lot of bug bites, but I think there were so many more moments where I was genuinely laughing and playing and happy. That job really helped lift my spirits. I spent a lot more time with some pals. My birthday was over the summer. Then we go into the third part of the year, which got a little dark again. I was in LA and I was helping my aunt basically as her personal assistant while she was getting ready to film a movie, and I got to be on set and act towards the end, which was really lovely. But for a lot of it, I honestly was just alone a lot. That's when I did the bulk of my reading this year, journaled a ton. I have never lived by myself or been alone so many hours of the day as I was during those 2.5 months, and it was hard. And I learned a lot about myself and did a lot of reflecting. It was not fun reflecting. It was hard reflecting, and it was laying the groundwork for things that are going to help me, but in the moment, I just felt bad a lot of the time. Coming out of that, this last month and a half of the year has been a beautiful, beautiful contrast. I have been surrounded by people I love. I was able to go home for the holidays, which I literally cannot tell you how much that saved me. Last year I didn't go home for Christmas, and I literally spent the whole day crying on my couch about how someday my parents are gonna die and I wasn't with them on Christmas, and it was actually awful. And this year I was standing in Idaho with my whole family on Christmas Eve watching this like fireworks show, and skiers go ski down a mountain with torches, and I just stood there feeling grateful to be alive. So big contrast, and I've been able to take a lot of the hard lessons that I have learned throughout this year. I'm at a place where obviously it's not always going to feel like this, and I'm gonna feel sad again in my life, but right this second I feel kind of at peace with the journey of life. I finally feel like I have energy to do some work on my goals. My brain feels a little more free of this existential and adult stress. I feel like I have my feet under me a little more. I know everybody says this at the beginning of the year, but I genuinely feel a huge energy shift coming for 2023. Like, I'm already feeling it more deeply than maybe I ever have in my life. I'm like kind of getting teary. More deeply than I ever have in my life do I believe in myself. Oh my god. I have just spent the last almost 3 years feeling so sad and wondering if I was the kind of person who could achieve my dreams because everything felt so hard. Oh my god. You know what? Cool kids cry. I got this sticker in San Francisco. This is what's happening right now. I'm a sensitive gal. No, for real. This feels like the nicest I have ever been to myself. I believe in myself, I support myself, and I have the energy and the optimism and the belief that I can achieve my goals. And I have not felt like that genuinely since I was 20 years old, which was 4.5 years ago. We're ushering in some great energy. I literally made no progress on this vision board. All I did was chop up a bunch of pictures. I still have 2 sheets to go. I am vlogging this week, so make sure you subscribe to see the full vision board in next week's video. I guess that's the conclusion. I really feel better. There's no one thing that did it, and it was not easy, and there were times where I did not want to go on. After these 2.5 years of sadness and darkness and despair and feeling like a victim of the universe and feeling like nothing was ever gonna happen for me and nothing was in my control, I want to romanticize life more, and I want to be proud of myself for just literally being alive, because it's not always easy. I don't do these sit down videos very much. I was just feeling like speaking from the heart to future Cassie so that she could see what's going on, so that I could give her a little bit of belief in herself, because she rocks. And so do I. And so do you, fellow internet person. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe. I have a vlog coming next week about prepping for the new year. Make sure you go do something that makes you happy today, because you deserve it, and I believe in you. Let's make 2023 a fabulous year. XOXO me. Okay, bye.